All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Connecting the Dots with Dr. Shai. This is a great place to be if you desire to take charge of your health so you can live fully while enjoying doing what you love. And today I'm really excited because we're joined with a patient of mine, Mr. Eric Robinson. Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. And he's just going to share, some of the wins he's had in the last few years. And so we're going to go right into it. So thank you so much for doing this. This is going to help a lot of people. And I truly appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So can you just looking back in the last few years, what would you say have been your biggest wins? What have you noticed in terms of your health?
Yeah, I'd say a couple of years ago, I kind of got to the point. I'm just about 40 now. I've got two kids, got a wife. Kind of was thinking a little bit about my health and about you know how I want my future to look, and how I want to feel and my health as I go forward. And I kind of decided then, I was like, especially with my kids being relatively young, and I really want to have, a long future like everyone does, where I get to, experience things with my kids and watch what it is they're doing. And at that point, I kind of decided, yeah, I had already gone through college and done a lot of things where it probably wasn't prioritizing my health as the number one thing in my life, and sort of decided at that point that if I didn't do that, I probably wasn't likely to have nearly as much of enjoyment and fulfillment out of what I want to see in the future. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing of the last couple of years is I sort of made that decision that I wanted to get healthier, for my kids, for my wife, and for my family. And so that was really kind of what started us on sort of this journey over the last couple of years to really improve, my general well-being.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you had a why, which you mentioned, and then you were intentional. Like it wasn't just a wish. Like you were intentional about, okay, I have a why. I have a vision of what I want my life to be like in the future. And then you made a decision. So that's been great. And what do you think what has changed since then? So can you describe some of what you had experienced in your health at the time versus what your health is like now? What has been the difference?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest difference is kind of what you mentioned, the intentionality of things. And so, it's really a question of, everyone has limited time, right? Everyone is pressed for time. And so the question is, where and how are you going to spend that time? Now, I am blessed or cursed perhaps with a job that has relatively flexible hours, which is great in that it means I can do things throughout the day if need be, but also bad in that there is no off hours. I could be working Monday through Sunday, 7 to 7 if I really wanted to. There's sort of no guaranteed stopping time. And so one of the things, probably the major thing that I changed was sort of deciding because obviously everyone work is a priority to lots of folks and it is important, of course. But the question is, is it am I over focusing on something so much so that other parts of my life, like my health, were suffering in the end, and also trying to understand or have a better perspective on like, yeah, I could put in extra hours to work and try and get ahead, but like, would it actually be better for me to emphasize my health and like a healthier, more awake, more productive person that's working fewer hours but being more productive because my overall state of well-being is better is actually a net win for everyone. And so I think it really took that change in mindset from I'm going to intentionally focus on my health because not only is it good for me, but also like all these other things that I'm trying to do probably are going to go a lot better, if I feel better, if I'm healthier, if I just have more energy because I have better habits. And so I think really making that switch in my mind of being like, no, actually, I'm not going to put in the extra hour of work. I'm going to take that hour. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go and get active. And that's really what I focused on over the last couple of years was increasing that level of activity. I think a lot of folks are very sedentary in their jobs. Most of the people I know, they sit at a computer all day, which that's what I do too. Okay, I mean, I sit in front of a screen and a keyboard, and that means typically I'm sitting hours on end, which, as you know, and others are probably aware, really not a healthy habit to be having. And so, sort of making that choice to reprioritize things and really focus on doing what I need to ensure that I'm not only successful in work, but also doing it in a healthy way is really, I think, key to some of the changes that I've seen over the last couple of years.
Great. No, thank you for sharing that because that's a very common thing I hear. A lot of people say they don't have time. But I
Yeah.
think
Mm-hmm.
that mindset shift that you've had where, look, even if I don't make time now, I'm going to suffer for it later. Like,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
need to make the time because this is that important. And like you said, you feel a lot better doing the things that you need to do when you are healthier. So it makes a big difference that when you're able to make the time. And I like it because also it's applicable to so many people because it doesn't matter what condition, a health condition a person has. If you do make time and you're intentional about your health, it makes all the difference, right?
Yeah,
So,
I agree. And to be honest, so I'm very fortunate to have a job that allows me to do that. I understand that there's a lot of folks where it's not nearly as flexible, but I think there are probably still ways to do that. Again, it takes sort of intentionality, but it could be something as easy as like, oh, when I'm going to stop for my lunch break, I'm going to go out for a run, during the day. It could be 15 minutes and or something like that. But it doesn't have to be a long period of time necessarily. It just has to be intentional, and you have to work to create it, as a habit. So, yeah, I mean, I think having that mindset change and that reprioritization makes you kind of realize, like, oh well, even though I thought I didn't have the time, maybe I do because I can, take this time that I'm not spending as well in this way, and repurpose it so that I get the benefits of just having a healthier level of activity of lifestyle.
great. And you kind of already talked about that. That was a mindset shift. But what habit do you think that really made a difference for you that you think somebody else might benefit from if they start applying it right now?
I think it was just getting out and just being more active. I mean, I pretty much went from uh, not being active at all to being active 6 out of the 7 days of the week at least. Now obviously not everybody can go from that. And I wouldn't necessarily suggest going from nothing to 110%. Like that overnight. But I think just yeah, I mean the habit I've really developed is like, again, it's like this level of activity is not optional. Like I go
Mm,
out, like this is just part of my life. This is what I do. I go out and I go for a run, or I go out and go do a class of some sort. Like it's just something that is become just as natural as eating and sleeping. It's like, oh well, I'm going out for my activity. That takes some time, right? Like that's not something that you're gonna just be like, okay, now this is what I do. But it's that mindset shift that helps you establish that and really like work through that initial hump of like getting the habit established. Because once it's established, I feel like then it's just like I actually feel like I need to do it. So like I'm not forcing myself to go for a run. I'm like, oh, I really want to go and do this because I haven't done it for a while. But it's that first, couple months or so where you're just like training your body that this is the thing that we do.
right.
That takes a lot more willpower, I think, to just get established. It's just more difficult, at that point.
During that time. Yeah. And I like what you said about it's not optional. It's like a lifestyle change for you. And I think and that's one of the things that we talked about throughout, the when we met over the course of the few years where it was just it's a lifestyle. This is not something that we pick things, we try to pick things that you can see yourself doing long term, not
Right. Yeah.
in things that you can only do for 30 days.
Yeah.
Because when
No.
you pick things that you can only do short time, it will work during those 30 days you do them, but then what's the point when, once you stop, nothing works as well anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for how do you think that it was helpful? How did um, coming to the doctor or just being part of InTouch Primary Care, how did that help with your health in general over the last
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
few years?
Well, I think it helps in a couple of different ways. I mean, one way, certainly, while we were going through the more intensive parts of the program that we were working through, it helps to have accountability, right? To have somebody, and I don't see that in a way like, I show up and be like, oh man, Dr. Oshai is going to be like, with the finger pointing, and like, it's just never like that. It's just more about like, again, it's kind of forces that intentionality. Like every, on a very set schedule, you're forced to sit down and think about, okay, have I been doing the things that I'm needing to be doing? If not, why not? And I think a lot of the discussions we had were surrounded around that. Again, it wasn't judgment for not doing the things that I need to do. It was like, okay, well, why isn't this working? Is it because, like you said, it doesn't really fit the lifestyle well, or do you need to make some other change or try just some different route altogether that will have a similar effect? So I think having those constant touch points was very important to sort of working through issues that would come up that might have derailed the progress. I think the other thing that's really nice, that's very specific to kind of the model that InTouch uses, is that, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but like my previous experience with doctors, it's not that it's been bad, but it's been very fleeting. In that most of the time you go to like a primary care physician that you probably talk to the doctor for like you probably wait for 30 minutes and then talk to them for like 2 minutes, because I know, like, I get it, like that's just how they have to do it. They have to have a certain number of patients per hour, like for it to work out for them, and so they just have a lot of patients to get through. Whereas with the approach that we've taken, just having that time to sit down and just like ask the questions and explore what's going on, and just like think about what's happening and get into sort of deeper discussions around the health and the habits and what's going on, I think was, for me personally, very, very helpful, because then I felt like I knew what we were doing and why we were doing it, and had the option to ask any sort of question that I wanted to, and didn't feel like I was inconveniencing someone who had other things they needed to go off and do because of their schedule. So I think that was really very helpful in the process.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, because I think sometimes when you try to explain when you're working on something and you're trying to get to a goal, that accountability can be overlooked in a lot, sometimes, because as human beings, we assume we give ourselves a lot of credit for something sometimes, and we're guilty in different areas of doing that. And sometimes you just need a little bit more just support to make things
Yeah,
go quicker.
yeah,
Because that's what I've heard from a number of patients that have come through here, is that accountability makes such a difference, because when you're a child, you have the accountability of parents to keep you.
yeah, yeah,
And so you tend to do things, right? But as an adult, it's just you, and sometimes it's not as easy to continue to do things, especially when you're busy with so many other things that you have to, be accountable for. So that's
yeah,
one of the things people talk about a lot, and it really does help that we have the time to sit and talk and think, and it helps both of us, because I understand more what the challenges you have are, and I can figure out better how to help when I have a better understanding. And I think that
yeah.
that's why having a lot more time helps. And so, thanks for sharing that. So
Mhm.
yeah, this has been great. I don't know if you have any last thoughts you wanted to share. I'll be happy to.
I mean, I wish I had a magic solution for everyone, because I understand going through it that it's a long process. I think the other thing you hit on from the aspect of support. I mean, certainly accountability is important, but also surrounding yourself with people who are supportive of that journey. So I'll specifically call out my wife, for example. So I made a pretty big change in the amount of time I spent going out and exercising. And like I said, I really did reprioritize. Like, no, this is a priority, which means like sometimes certainly I would inconvenience her. I'm like, oh, dinners, needs to be on the table. Like, well, I need to go out for my run, or the kids need something that happens with the kids, and I was like, I'm trying. Again, those time pressures creep up, and so
Mhm.
certainly having her support in that, in like understanding like this is a change I'm trying to make, and being like, I think you have to recognize the importance of that support structure, because certainly I would not have been able to do what I did if she's like, okay, this is all great and fun and great, but you
But
need to do X,
right.
Y, and Z, right? Like you run whenever you have time, but
Right.
dinner needs to be on the table and this and of course there's always responsibilities. Like you always try to have to balance, but having someone who does it with you and who's like, okay, I get it. Like I want you to succeed in this, and so I'm going to also try and lower some of those barriers as best as you can. I think was really helpful. So to the extent that you can find that support, maybe maybe it's not your significant other, but maybe it's a friend that you're doing this with, or I think in part that also is why we had some of these group sessions, which can be useful for folks too who don't have other levels of support with somebody else there to kind of go through some of these things with them. So just wanted to highlight that as kind of an important part of a successful life change, right? Is that you just
Yeah.
can't do it by yourself, right? And so having that support is, I think, really important.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It takes a village, basically, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not just one. There's so many aspects, and you've done a good job of using all of that. And kudos to your wife too. I mean, very, very, you know, really happy that you had that support. That's priceless, really, because yeah, that could be a lot when you're having to change things, can be uncomfortable for not, like you said, it affects everybody. But
yeah.
also
Mm-hmm.
you being in good health makes it better for everybody too.
Right,
So
exactly. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's great. I'm glad she was able to be there for you. All right. Thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you for sharing. And anyone listening, if you have found this helpful, please go ahead and share, let other people know somebody out there might need to hear this to encourage them, to inspire them. And then if you're looking for a doctor and you're in the Houston area, check us out at InTouch Primary Care. You can check us out on our website to learn more about how we practice. Thank you.